Welcome to another edition of No Pump Fake Sports. I'm your host, Passport T. Let's talk a little Clippers basketball. What I want to talk about today is Morris Sr. Man, Marcus Morris Sr., man. And has he become expendable? But let's go back, man. Marcus and Markieff, they grew up in Philadelphia. They played basketball, man, in those inner cities. You know, those playgrounds and those gyms, man. And they basically honed their skills right there in the hood in Philly, man. And they developed that gritty, hard-nosed, blue-collar Philadelphia work ethic. And Marcus became good enough, man, to where he earned himself a scholarship to the University of Kansas. And he was pretty good. I think it was like 2010, 2011. He became like the Big 12 Player of the Year. So, yeah, man, he had game, man. He was doing his thing, man. So he played, like I said, at Kansas, and he finished his career there. And eventually he got drafted by the Houston Rockets. His stay with the Rockets was just so-so. He bounced back and forth between the Rockets and the G League team at the time. But eventually the Rockets, they moved on. I don't know if he was traded or his contract just ran out and they didn't renew it. And he found himself in Phoenix. And just so happened that his brother was in Phoenix too. But this is where they made their bones, man. They showed the world at that time that they were real NBA players. They played hard-nosed defense. I think, in my opinion, you know, you guys can let me know in the comment section what you think. But in my opinion, I think Marcus is the better of the two. I think he has a better outside shot. His defense might be a little better as well. I think Markieff is a bigger body, so he could play. He's more suitable for the 5 and 4, whereas Marcus is probably more suitable for the 4 and 3. But anyway, you know, they were showing people, man, in Phoenix that they had a little nasty in them. They were getting in people's face. They were fan favorites. The fans loved them because they just had that hard-nosed East Coast work ethic, man, and they went to Phoenix and they brought it, man. So I can't say enough about them, man. But unfortunately, that rough and tough, hardcore attitude that Marcus has, you know, it always lurked in the background. And unfortunately, during one of those years, I think it was the last year he was in Phoenix, he ended up getting into some off-the-court problems, man. Some kind of assault or something like that. You guys could correct me if I'm wrong. But eventually, Phoenix had enough. And I think they traded him to Detroit. And this is where he started to bounce around a little bit. So he went to Detroit first. He played there. Then eventually he ended up going over to the Celtics, played in Boston, bounced from there down to New York. And then he wanted a big contract, and I think New York gave him like a 1-year deal. But then midway during that season, he made his way all the way out here to Hollywood, and he became a Los Angeles Clippers. In that first year, you know, Doc played him. Doc liked him. He came. He brought that toughness. He was on that same team with Lou Will and Patrick Beverly, and you know, so they showed that. You know, this was a good team, and Marcus, you know, he was doing his thing. He contributed a lot, and Doc kind of liked his style. But that year, I think he came, you know, after the trade deadline, so he played 19 games with the team that first year. But then in that year, I think that was the pandemic year. It was 2019-2020 season, and we ended up making the playoffs. And, you know, Marcus Morris was just inconsistent in the playoffs. We were in the bubble. Nobody wanted to be there, you know, and Morris Sr. he wasn't on his A game. And we got out to a 3-1 lead versus Denver that year. And everybody thought that the Clippers were going to meet the Lakers, you know, and finally get the Laker-Clipper rivalry and get it, you know, at a level where it's big-time basketball. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Man, the Denver Nuggets fought their way back. Jokic went ham in the paint on Montrezl Harrell. Doc wouldn't make any adjustments. And they battled all the way back from a 3-1 deficit, man, to knock the Clippers out the playoffs. and everything went haywire. Haywire from there. And so the Clippers organization, they decided to move on from Doc. They fired him. Doc ended up, he landed in Philly. The Clippers moved on with Ty Lue, which I think was the best move that the Clippers could ever make. And we went into that next season, everybody was healthy. Morris Sr. got a lot of time. Ty Lue played him a lot. But unfortunately, he was hit or miss again in that season. And he didn't stay healthy. I think he only played like 54 games that year. He has a real problem with health. And, he was just on and off the court all year long. But the Clippers were really good that year, and we ended up making the playoffs, man. And I think in that first round, we got hold to the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic. And, Luka and them jumped on our head immediately and, went up 2-0. And Morris was inconsistent again. He wasn't playing well at all, man. But we kept battling. We won the next 2 games, tied the series at 2-2 after 4. And I think in game 6 or 7, Morris was real pivotal in that series. He hit like 3 consecutive threes, man, to like close the gap, and we end up beating them. And then we won the final game, game 7, and moved on and went into that Jazz series. And everybody know what happened there, man. Same thing, went down 2-0, battled back, tied it up. Unfortunately, Joe Ingles did a body block on Kawhi, blew his knee out. Kawhi been out ever since, 15 months. And but we moved on from the Jazz, knocked them out the playoffs, ended up getting to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in franchise history. And I must say again, Morris Sr. was inconsistent again. Paul George basically had to put the entire team on his back just to keep us close. As I stated in previous videos, it was a few calls here or there. We could have easily won that series, but unfortunately, this is the way the ball bounced sometime. Phoenix ended up knocking us out. Morris came up small in that series again, and that brought us to last year. Well, last year, Kawhi Leonard missed the entire basketball season, and Paul George, you might as well say he did too, because he missed 50 games. And nobody really thought that we were going to do anything significant in the season. So Ty Lue decided to go with the young kids. He started to play Luke Kennard a lot, Terrence Mann, Amir Coffey, Brandon Boston Jr., and even Jay Scrubb got some run. And guess what happened? We found something. Those kids, man, they start to gain experience, and they kept us in the hunt all year long in playoff contention between the 6th seed and the 8th seed all year long. Morris Sr. stayed hurt on and off the court all year, inconsistent all year. And that brought us basically to the trade deadline in the All-Star break. And what happened? The logo did it again. He pulled off a blockbuster trade for little to nothing. He brought in Norman Powell and Robert Covington from the Portland Trail Blazers, and he gave up Eric Bledsoe, who was having a terrible season, and then that other kid that could jump out the gym who was a second rounder, and then I think a second round pick. But everybody felt like we fleeced the Portland Trail Blazers for Powell and Rocco, and I'm included. I think we did. But yeah, man, but I think when we got Rocco, that was the beginning of the end of Morris Sr. in Los Angeles. And that brings us into this upcoming season. But when Rocco got here, it was only, I don't even know. It was after the trade deadline. So I forgot how many games it was left. But Rocco did his thing. He balled. Man, he played excellent defense. He shot the 3 ball at 45% from the 3. You couldn't ask anything else from this kid. He played every position you needed him to play. If you needed him to play center in the small ball lineup, he did it, and he did it well. If you compare him to Morris Sr., they shoot the 3 ball about the same. As a matter of fact, last year, Morris Sr. percentage point dropped 11% from 3. He went from shooting the year before 47.3% down to 36% last year. And the same thing from the floor. He went from 47% to 43% from the floor. So his stats are dropping while Robert Covington is coming on like a freight train. And when the Clippers gave Robert Covington and Nicholas Batum those brand new contracts, right then and there, I said to myself, Morris Sr. not going to be here much longer. Because we know that Nicholas Batum is one of Ty Lue's favorites. He even went to France in the offseason this year and visited Nicholas, to check on him, see how he was doing, and see how, he was playing in those. I think he was playing for his country's team or whatever. But Ty Lue went over there on vacation and checked on Nico, man, because he liked Nico a lot. It's one of his guys, man, and I think it's going to be really, really hard to keep Robert Covington off the court because he can do so many things, and his consistency is much better than Morris Sr. So, with that being said, if Morris Sr. doesn't come to training camp and just go berserk and then transition that over into the season and go crazy all year, I think towards the trade deadline, we're going to see him packaged and shipped out of here. That's just my belief. You guys can leave in the comment section and let me know what you think about it. But I just believe the Clippers are so deep that if they package maybe a second rounder and one of those young guys like Coffee or something, they might could get a real serviceable backup big, to back up Zubac, and they can move forward. I just feel like, and I'm repeating myself, I feel like Robert Covington and Nicholas Batum signing those deals was all but the end of Marcus Morris Sr. in Los Angeles. But yeah, man, that's really all I have on this take, man. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section, and give me your thoughts, man. Am I right about it? Will Morris Sr. be out of here at the trade deadline? Or do you guys think the Clippers will give him one more full year and let him ride off into the sunset and maybe get rid of, make a deal, in the offseason? Because it'll be unfortunate, man, if he's out of here and the Clippers win it all and he doesn't get a ring. Oh, man, that'll be so sad, man. But yeah, man, you guys leave me your thoughts, man. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Please share the video. Hit the bell icon so you can get all the notifications, man, when I drop another video. This has been another edition of No Pump Fake Sports. I'm your host, Passport T, and I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Peace.